Hello, in this video I'm going to show you how to enter your figures in this accounts book, which is often called the yellow book due to its yellow squares. It is 1 page per week layout and it's suitable for a non-VAT registered business in the UK which does mainly cash sales. Each page has 3 columns: the money record, bank record and payments record. It doesn't really matter in which sequence you fill these columns. Let's start by writing in the full date of the first day of the week. We then enter the money, that's the cash and checks you have at the start of the week. This figure will be 0 if it's your first week of trading. Now record your daily takings, i.e. your sales. Now, by the way, you can see this worked example on our website, and it's also printed at the beginning of each yellow book. Write your figures in pencil to begin with, then later when it all balances you can ink them in. I'm using a pen here as it's a bit easier for you to see what I'm doing. Note that card sales processed through a terminal should be recorded in both the daily takings and daily bankings. Okay, let's add up the daily takings. The best way to do this is with a printing calculator. You enter the figures and at the very end you can tear off the roll. Now place the roll beside the figures in the book. It's then easy to check you've entered the figures correctly on the calculator, and if the figures match you can then write in the total. Now moving down the money record column, and under other money coming in, you enter any money that's not from sales. For example, new money put into the business, a loan, a tax refund, or cash withdrawn from your business bank account. But record direct transfers as direct credits in the bank record column. And remember to specify the source of all these funds. Okay, now let's look at the bank record column. We'll begin with the calculated bank balance at the start of the week. It's 0 if it's your first week of trading, otherwise it's the bank balance at the end of the previous week. You then record the daily bankings, and remember to include your card sales which are processed through a terminal. I should add that the best time to write up the accounts in this accounts book is at the end of the week, or perhaps when you've received your monthly bank statement. Now when you've completed the daily bankings, you can then total them all up and write in the total. After that, you can move down the bank record column. There's a section to record direct credits and direct debits. Direct credits can include customers paying you by direct banking or a transfer of funds from your personal account. Under direct debits you can also include any standing orders. And at the end of this section you need to add up again. Okay, let's look at the payments record column. There are 2 sub-columns here. One is for payments by cash, the other for payments by check, card or direct banking. Now the top part here is for stock or raw materials you bought for the business. You write in the supplier's name and fill in the amount in the correct column, i.e. cash or otherwise. Now you need to give a reference for this transaction. For a cash payment you could use the payment date, or you could give each cash receipt a unique sequential reference number. For a check, use the last 3 figures of the check number, and for a card or direct banking transaction, use the date. If you're not registered for VAT, then you must record the full invoice value, including any on the invoice. Then total up this section. As you can see, I've speeded up this bit. After filling in the stock or raw materials purchased, we move on down the payments record column, filling in the figures. Remember that only expenditure that is wholly and exclusively for your business is normally tax deductible. There's space for notes in the grey area in the column. For instance, if you employ anyone, you could put their names here. Also, there is often more than one payment in a category in any week, so you can note the separate payments in the grey area, and so on. I've speeded up this next part. As an aside, if you make payments by personal cash, you must also record the amount under other money coming in the money record column, as you have effectively put that new money into the business. When the payments record is complete, add up the 2 columns. We can now complete the week's money balance. You enter the money at the start of the week, to which you then add the daily takings. and then to this you add any other money coming in. And once you've done that, you can then subtract the daily bankings total. And finally, from the payments column, you can subtract the total cash payments. You can then calculate the week's money balance. Now enter the money in your hand at the end of the week and note any discrepancy between the calculated money balance and the money as counted. This should of course be 0. Now let's do the week's bank balance. Here you enter the bank balance at the start of the week, to which you then add the daily bankings total, and then to this you can add the direct credits. You then subtract the direct debits, and finally, from the payments column, you subtract the total non-cash payments. You can then calculate the week's bank balance. Now every 4 or 5 weeks, when your bank statement arrives, you can do the bank statement check. Write the statement's balance shown on the last day of the same 4 or 5 week period in your accounts book. To that figure, add any bankings and deduct any payments not yet shown on the bank statement. The resulting figure should equal the week's bank balance as calculated above. This check is really important and you must get it to balance. Okay, that's the week completed. Job done. At the year end, if you have stock or raw material, you must do a stock take. There's also space to record your debtors, creditors and any capital expenditure. In addition, you have to complete an annual summary of the weekly data. Some Yellow Book users make use of a spreadsheet to record their annual summaries. With instructions in the book and help from an accountant, you should find your bookkeeping not too difficult.